The House at the End of Hollow Road. 1. A new beginning in a forgotten town. Tyler and his wife Jenna weren't looking for trouble, just a fresh start. When they found a house in the small town of Blackridge, it seemed too good to be true. The house sat at the very end of Hollow Road, surrounded by acres of dense, fog-covered forest. "Why was it so cheap?" Jenna asked the real estate agent. The woman forced a smile. "It's been on the market a long time," she admitted. She didn't mention why, but Tyler and Jenna didn't ask. They should have. 2. The unopened room. The first few days in the house were uneventful. Jenna decorated while Tyler worked from home. Then on the third night, Tyler noticed the door. It was at the end of the upstairs hallway, small, wooden, painted white. "I thought we checked all the rooms," Jenna said. Tyler tried the handle. Locked. "Probably just an old storage closet," he muttered. But later that night, as they lay in bed, they heard it. A soft creaking, as if someone was opening that door. 3. The shadow in the hallway. By the end of the week, strange things started happening. Objects moved on their own. The TV flickered, playing static at exactly 3:12 a.m. And at night, footsteps echoed in the upstairs hallway. Tyler was working late when he saw it for the first time. His office door was slightly ajar, giving him a partial view of the hallway. That's when he saw a shadow move. At first, he thought it was Jenna, but then a shape passed the doorway. Tall, slow, not human. Tyler's blood ran cold. He grabbed his phone, stepped into the hallway, but it was empty, except for one thing. The locked door was open, and inside, in the darkness, something moved. 4. The whispering room. Jenna woke up to find Tyler standing in the hallway. His eyes were wide, his hands shaking. "The room," he whispered. "It's wrong." Jenna frowned. "Tyler, what are you talking about?" He pointed to the door. It was open now. Inside, the room was empty. No furniture, no dust, like it had never been used. But Jenna felt it too. Something was watching them. Then, a whisper, so faint it was almost inaudible. "Get out." Jenna's heart hammered. They slammed the door and locked it. They should have left the house that night, but they didn't. 5. The woman in the window. By the second week, Jenna refused to be alone upstairs. Every time she passed the locked door, she felt something waiting on the other side. Then, one afternoon, she looked out the kitchen window and saw her. A woman, standing at the edge of the trees, dressed in a faded white nightgown. Her long, tangled hair covered most of her face, but her eyes were visible. Dark, empty. She was staring at the house, at Jenna. Jenna gasped, stepping back. She blinked, and the woman was gone. But later that night, Tyler found her standing at the front door. The door was unlocked, and Jenna's hands were on the handle. I don't remember getting up," she whispered. Tyler pulled her away. Then he noticed something that made his stomach drop. The door wasn't unlocked from the inside. It was unlocked from the outside, as if someone had let themselves in. 6. The truth about the house. Tyler had had enough. He drove to the local library, searching for any history on their house. What he found made his skin crawl. In 1932, a woman named Margaret Bell lived there. She was accused of murdering her 3 children, drowning them in the bathtub upstairs. After she was arrested, she swore she didn't do it. She claimed it was the house, that it had whispered to her, that it had made her do it. But before her trial, Margaret hanged herself. And since then, every family who moved in had disappeared. Every single one. Tyler's chest tightened. He grabbed his phone and called Jenna. "Pack your bags," he said. "We're leaving," but then the call cut to static. Then through the noise, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." 7. The final night. By the time Tyler got home, it was night. The house was dark, silent. "Jenna?" he called. No answer. Then he heard it, a dripping sound, coming from upstairs. His stomach churned. He climbed the stairs slowly, heart pounding. The dripping grew louder. Then, a single wet footprint appeared at the top of the stairs, fresh, leading into the locked room. The door creaked open. Tyler stepped inside. The room was different now. The bathtub was full. Water overflowed, spilling onto the floor. And inside, Jenna, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream, floating, motionless. Tyler staggered forward. No, 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 no. Then behind, Mark and Lisa had no idea what they were walking into. They had been searching for a new home for months, and when they found the charming Victorian house at the end of Maple Drive, it felt like a miracle. It was spacious, affordable, and fully furnished. Almost too good to be true. On the day they moved in, their real estate agent, Mrs. Langley, hesitated at the front door. "There's just one thing," she said slowly. Mark raised an eyebrow. "What?" Mrs. Langley forced a smile. "The third bedroom," she said. "Just keep the door closed." Lisa laughed. "Why?" The agent just shook her head. "No one ever stays in that room." Lisa and Mark brushed it off. They shouldn't have. 2. The room that won't stay closed. The first few days were normal. Mark and Lisa spent their time unpacking, decorating, and exploring the house. But the third bedroom, that was different. It was already furnished, but unlike the rest of the house, the air inside was cold, stagnant. Lisa shivered as she peeked inside. It had a single bed, a dresser, and a rocking chair facing the window. Nothing unusual. Still, something about it made her skin crawl. So they did what Mrs. Langley said. They closed the door, but every morning, it was open again. 3. The footsteps at night. On the third night, Mark woke up to a sound. Soft, rhythmic, creak, creak, like a rocking chair moving. He sat up, heart pounding. The sound was coming from the third bedroom. Lisa stirred beside him. "Do you hear that?" Mark grabbed his phone, turning on the flashlight. The bedroom door was wide open, and inside, the rocking chair was moving. Lisa gasped. "Mark, the window." Mark turned. The window was open now, and for just a second, he swore he saw a shape slip into the darkness outside. 4. The girl in the hallway. Lisa wanted to seal the door shut, but Mark insisted it was just the wind. Then, 2 nights later, Lisa woke up to whispering, a child's voice, coming from inside the house. She turned to Mark, shaking him. "Mark, someone's here." Mark sat up, rubbing his eyes. Then a shadow moved in the hallway. Lisa grabbed Mark's arm. A girl stood outside the third bedroom. She was young, no older than 10, with long dark hair. She was barefoot, and her eyes were hollow. Lisa whispered, "Who are you?" The girl lifted a finger to her lips. Then, she disappeared. 5. The real story of the house. The next day, Lisa went to the town records office. She searched through old newspapers, trying to find anything about their house. What she found made her stomach twist. In 1903, a little girl named Eleanor Dyer had lived there. She had been locked in the third bedroom by her parents, a punishment for sneaking out at night. But one winter, the window got stuck open, and Eleanor froze to death in her sleep. Lisa's hands trembled, but that wasn't the worst part, because every family who had moved in since had lost a child. All of them, gone without a trace, and each time the third bedroom door had been found open, waiting for the next one. 6. The handprints on the window. Lisa rushed home, but when she got there, she found Mark standing in the hallway, staring at the third bedroom. The door was wide open. Lisa froze. "Mark, close it." Mark didn't move. Then he said in a distant voice, "She's waiting for us." Lisa's blood ran cold. She grabbed Mark's wrist, pulling him back. That's when she saw them. Handprints, small child-sized handprints covering the window. From the inside, Lisa screamed. 7. The final night. That night, they decided they were leaving, but the house wasn't finished with them. At 3:12 a.m., Lisa woke up freezing. The room was ice cold, and Mark was missing. Lisa's heart pounded. Then, she heard it. The sound of the rocking chair moving. Creak, creak. Lisa ran into the hallway. The third bedroom door was wide open, and inside, Mark was sitting in the rocking chair. His eyes were blank. His lips moved, whispering. Lisa grabbed him. "Mark, wake up!" Then, the window burst open, and Lisa saw her, Eleanor, standing outside, smiling and whispering, "It's his turn now." The wind howled. Mark lurched forward toward the window. Lisa grabbed him, pulled him back, and slammed the bedroom door shut. The whispers stopped, but the knocking began, soft, slow, insistent. Mark gasped, blinking rapidly. His voice shook. "She almost had me." Lisa held him tight. Then they ran, and never looked back. 8. The next family. A week later, they sold the house. They didn't tell the buyers what had happened. But when Lisa drove by one last time, she saw the new family moving in. A mother, a father, and a little boy. Lisa's stomach churned. She almost called out. But then, she saw the bedroom window. There, behind the glass, a face, small, pale, smiling, waiting for someone new. The voices under the floor. 1. When the house in the fog. Daniel had never wanted to move back to his childhood home, but after his mother passed away, the old house in Ravenswood was his. At first it seemed normal enough. Dusty furniture, creaking floors, the same faded wallpaper he remembered from childhood. But as he settled in, strange things started happening. Footsteps when he was alone, the radio turning on by itself, and at night, the voices. Soft, whispering, coming from beneath the floorboards. 2. The trapdoor in the hallway. Daniel remembered the stories. When he was a child, his mother had told him never to go near the trapdoor in the hallway. That basement is dangerous, she had warned, but she never explained why. Now, as Daniel stood over it, he hesitated. Something about the wood felt wrong, warped, as if it had been pushed upward from below. Then, a knock. A single, hard knock from beneath the floor. Daniel staggered back. That wasn't the house settling. Something was down there. 3. The voices grow louder. The next few nights, the voices grew stronger. At first it was murmurs, then they became pleading whispers. Let us out. We've been here so long, please. Daniel tried to ignore them, but every night at exactly 3:12 a.m. the knocking returned. Each time, louder, more urgent. And then, one night, the trapdoor opened on its own. 4. The basement that shouldn't exist. Daniel froze. The wooden hatch had swung open, revealing a staircase leading into darkness. He grabbed a flashlight, his breath shaky. Every instinct told him to close the door and run. But something compelled him forward. The basement was larger than it should have been. The air was heavy, damp with the scent of earth and mildew. And then he saw them. Handprints. Small, pale handprints smeared along the walls, like someone had been trying to climb out. 5. The forgotten children. At the far end of the basement, something moved. Daniel's flashlight flickered. A shadow stood in the corner, not moving, just watching. Then, it spoke. You shouldn't be here. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The shadow stepped forward and the flashlight flickered again. For just a second, Daniel saw her face, and then it gone. Skin gray, eyes hollow, mouth stitched shut. Then she vanished, and Daniel heard laughter, coming from all around him. Number 6. The truth beneath the house. Daniel stumbled backward and ran up the stairs. The basement door slammed shut behind him. He barely slept that night. The next morning, he searched the town archives, and what he found made his stomach drop. In 1924, the house had belonged to a man named Victor Harland, a surgeon. Or at least, that's what people thought, until they discovered the bodies, children, dozens of them, buried beneath the house. Daniel's hands shook. No wonder his mother had never let him near the basement, because the children were still there, and now they wanted out. The last warning that night, Daniel woke up screaming. The whispers were inside the walls now, the laughter under his bed. And when he turned to the doorway, the little girl was standing there, her mouth no longer stitched shut. She smiled and whispered, "Now you belong here too." Then, the floor collapsed beneath him, and the darkness swallowed him whole. 8. The house is waiting. A month later, Ravenswood had a new owner. The young couple bought the house, excited for a fresh start. The landlord handed them the keys. "Oh, and one more thing," he said casually. "The basement door, don't open it." They laughed, but deep beneath the floorboards, the knocking started again, waiting for the next person to listen.